Hello, welcome to this most recent episode of Generation BTS, the podcast where we normally review BTS albums, but today we're here to talk about Layover, the first album by Kim Taehyung. That is what we're here to do today, so that'll be exciting. But first, I'm Christine. I am 30 years old and I've been ARMY 2 years, and with me I've got my two normal co-hosts.
Hi, I'm Leanne. I'm 34 and I've been ARMY 21 months.
Hi, I'm Natasha. I'm 20 and I've been ARMY for 7 years.
Whoop, whoop.
Right, the first thing that we'll talk about today, though, unfortunately, is recent updates, because it is indeed a very sad day for all of ARMYdom, me especially. So we're recording on the 22nd of September, which will be known forever as the day that we lost our little meow meow to the military service. So yeah, it's a sad day, but we'll power through and talk about V instead.
Well, at least V's there. Your old bias is there to save the day. He's
that's
back.
true. For
He's
a couple
back
more
to
months.
comfort, yeah.
For a couple more months, he'll be here, so that's nice. We'll wait to hear any more updates from Yoongi's military life. I don't think we've had any yet, except a little message on Weverse yesterday for us, but sort of just after midnight Korean time, where he just said, see you in 2025, essentially. And like, don't be sad, which, you know, easy for you to say.
Impossible.
Yeah.
He's not shaved his head.
He's not shaved his head. No, he's not done that yet.
So that's nice.
He did have a new short haircut on his most recent live that he did like a week ago, which was a bit, I mean, he said it was the shortest he had in a while. So I was a bit like, well, if you don't need to shave your head, why have you done this? But it looked a bit...
Maybe it's for the summer like RM.
It's not summer anymore.
Maybe it's for the autumn.
Yeah, he doesn't need to shave until he goes for his 3 weeks of training, which I believe everyone has to do. So yeah, that's probably when we'll get the whole shaved head, maybe the whole seeing him off pictures. But yeah, that's the biggest thing that's happened, I guess. In other news, Jungkook flew to New York yesterday. He looked really tired at the
super
airport.
Tired.
Yeah,
his eyes were all puffy. But
yeah, he flew there yesterday to go to the Global Citizens Festival, I believe it's called. Yeah. So that'll be exciting. It'll be on TV tomorrow. We'll try and watch it. We've got some magazines out. Jungkook did a cover for Dazed UK, which is exciting.
So we've had like an internal treasure hunt of all of the news agents across London and the north of England in search of it.
Yeah, it's hard to find.
I managed to find one copy and screamed like, ah! And the news agent was like, are you okay? And I was like, yes, I need this. So that was pretty embarrassing, but I was really happy. I felt like I was holding ARMY gold dust when I touched it. And the interview's really cute. So if you can find it, I would recommend.
Yeah, and then the happiest news we'll have to share. Well, obviously you'll know this already, but there was this week news of all 7 members signing a contract renewal with Big Hit / Hybe. So that is exciting news. That is sort of firmed the way forward after 2025, which is reassuring and positive.
Aaron put it on his story with a little 2025 and 2 little purple hats. My little hat was broken because I was so happy.
You were heartbroken from happiness.
Well, just heartbroken because it's so far away.
Yeah.
But happy that it's happening. But heartbroken because I want it to happen now.
Yeah.
But it can't. And I don't want to live in a world where I wish my life away. But I find increasingly I am. I'm as an Aaron bias, it's complicated. You can't just feel happy. You have to feel happy and sad and melancholy all at the same time.
There was a big donation made in the name of ARMY of 1 billion won, I believe, to UNICEF. And we've tried to match it. I think when I checked yesterday, it was only about $100,000 that had been donated.
No, that's so little.
1 billion won is about $700,000, I believe.
Okay.
If it has been reached or if it hasn't been reached, really. If you hear this and you want to donate, I will put the links in the show notes. And yeah, I think that's the gist. Anyone have anything to add?
RM dyed his hair blue for the day's cover. I don't know if I like it. This short haircut, I keep trying to like it.
I think it looks cute, but I think the blue is just temporary.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, because he was in the pictures that he posted yesterday, he didn't have blue hair.
Fine.
So that's nice. I think Yoongi and Jungkook will also have magazines out in October, so that will be really exciting. We're trying to get some copies from our friend who's coming back from Korea. In other news, Natasha's come back from Korea.
Whoop, whoop, welcome back.
Sad whoop whoop.
Sad whoop whoop. Yeah, we're all in person today in London. Natasha's been back a couple of days. How are you coping?
I think I'm like normally you go for 2 weeks. I think I've had enough time to come back for 2 weeks and then want to go back. So give me 2 weeks, then I'll start crying.
No.
So you want to do 3 months, 2 weeks in the UK,
Yeah.
3 months back in Korea.
Yeah.
It's going to get worse because you've got to go back to university.
Sure.
But you did bring us, like, she came back with 56 kilograms worth of luggage. And that means that we've finished our BTS album collection.
Yeah, we
have all 60 is what we counted them up as. So the full anthology plus every version of the solos.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think that is all we have to say about recent news and Natasha's trip to Korea. Unless there's something especially BTS related that you'd like to share.
No.
What was your BTS highlight?
Seeing RM.
Yeah, that was mine. I was there for that. He's a bias wrecker.
It's not even his concert. Whatever.
He was adorable. I would agree.
All right. Well, I think it's time to talk about V then. Layover by V. As normal, I think we'll go through some of the promo cycle and then talk a bit about our thoughts that we've sort of established so far, but obviously it's still early days. So the first thing that we heard about this album was on the 28th of July when news outlets reported that music critic Kim Taehyung, who we talked about before because he wrote my book BTS The Review, he had spoken at a lecture saying, because of the label, I can't give you specifics, but I think you'll be surprised. I think it's safe to say it's a rediscovery of V as a vocalist. Of course, V's signature colors are there, but you might be surprised how he uses them. First, the music is really good. He has a charismatic voice, but in BTS songs, he's often given a particular role. On this album, he was given more freedom. It's very natural. So obviously from that, we glean that the album was ready enough that this music critic got to listen to it. After that, we heard on the 2nd of August, about 5 days later, from New Jeans producer Min Hee-jin, who helped Tae on the album, and from Tae himself. Again, was via news outlets, not like officially via Big Hit, but they reported that V will release his first solo album in collaboration with Min Hee-jin. So Min Hee-jin talked a bit about how he'd sort of approached her. She was hesitant at first because of the schedule, but found V's attitude and passion and his tone unknown and interesting. And V said, although nervous, I'm happy. It's an album with my taste. There will be plenty to see. Thinking that ARMY will be happy. I prepared for it. So I hope you look forward to it. And they reported that you'll be able to see a new side of V as a solo singer, different from BTS's V, which, that's always the case. But yeah, so the official release notice from Big Hit came on the morning of the 8th of August, which was when Leanne and I traveled back from Korea because we had a layover, ironically.
Hey!
In China.
That wasn't even planned.
No.
Comedic genius there coming in.
It was a happy accident.
Or it was fated and meant to be. He had released it at the exact time because he knew where we were. He was like, those Generation BTS girls, they get me. They'll understand. I should put it out when they're doing a layover.
In the right frame of mind.
Exactly. It's all about them.
Fair enough. Yeah. Thanks, V.
Thanks, V.
So yeah, and it was the morning after we'd received the news about Yoongi preparing to enlist. They did their classic sort of sad news, good news bit. But as soon as I got enough internet to see his little Instagrams where he was like sending the little parcels to army, then I was feeling happier. So that was nice. So the announcement that they put out wasn't like, we're delighted to confirm that V will be putting out his solo album. It was more like, we want to share more details. So I feel like they knew that it was already out there. But they told us there would be 3 versions of the albums, and the album would have 5 songs with MVs to all the songs. And there was a blurb for each song talking about the style, which I won't read. It was more interesting before the album came out, I suppose.
And they were right.
Well, they gave you a sense of what each song was going to be like. So we got the sense that the album was going to be a mix of like retro, soulful, jazzy sort of signature Tay tracks, but some like more R&B pop songs. That's what they sort of talked about it as. I don't know whether we would really call them pop. But
they're not pop.
More sort of commercially angled, which is what he described it as. I wrote, are we annoyed there's only 5 songs? So Jimin had 4, and that was annoying. I remember we were annoyed about that.
We were even annoyed at Hobie.
Yeah, but he had 10 songs, but his album was so short. But
How
I guess
long is Layover?
Layover is
minutes.
shorter than Hobie's album, but obviously it's much fewer songs as well. I think I'm less annoyed because I feel like Jimin managed my expectations. So I wasn't as like, oh damn, why is it so short? How do you guys feel?
I don't think I was upset, kind of, as Jimin. But I think that's just because I knew that Tay's album or what he were going to release weren't really going to be to my style of music that I like. So I probably thought, being more songs or less songs, I might like it, but there's a chance that I might not.
Yeah. I think it was not confusing, but obviously he's talked about this album for like 3 years now. And I think it was in his car vlog thing that he did. He said he wanted to do 8 music videos. So then you were like, okay, well, there's definitely 8 songs.
I think maybe they've saved some. Or maybe he didn't like some.
I've got some excerpts from some interviews where he talks about sort of the creative process. So we'll read those in due course. But yeah, I think basically he had almost a whole album ready and then just decided that he hated all of it and like started over. Typical chaotic Tay style is what we've got here.
I was less annoyed about the amount of songs than I was about the fact that he didn't write any. Obviously, when it dropped and we were like straight into the writing credits, I was like, oh, V! No, V, why have you done this?
Yeah, he's not.
Come on,
on
pen
songs,
to paper.
Which I think also...
Easy.
Well,
not easy.
We've not written any songs, but...
We could. You know, we've got the Generation BTS version of Dang. That's still in the works.
We're not going to write that, though. Dang, it's already a song. But no, I think... I don't know. I might back myself to write like at least a couple of lyrics. But yeah, he hasn't, which is what it is. One of the songs, though, was partly written by the daughter of the previous Norwegian Prime Minister, which is very strange. And I remember I watched her play Annie once when I was like 10. But she's apparently a singer-songwriter now. And yeah, her dad's the head of NATO.
It means like you pretty much know V.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
why is my dad not head of NATO? Like, come on. I want to write songs for V.
Yeah.
No, he's not going to do it himself. Someone's got to do it for him.
Yeah.
Better.
Head of NATO's like, right, daughter, please go.
Up you go. This
Here's
world
your
peace stuff. No, we need
some more
is your
speeches
mission.
at the UN. So please can you inspire this guy to also be there while RM speaks. Yeah, and then V also posted on Instagram about how he wanted to deliver the albums to everyone's houses, which was cute.
Very sweet.
Yeah.
And then One Army was like, I'm so jealous of V delivering these parcels. I can't believe it. My jealousy is completely out of control again because I've had a parcel delivered by V.
No, she thought that he was going to send them out for free to all the armies in South Korea.
In South Korea, yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
We were just like...
She was like, oh, I can't believe the South Korean armies don't have to pay for this album. Me's just going to send it to them. It's like we don't exist, our international armies.
And then all the comments were like, no,
he's not actually going to send it to all the armies.
It just looks like a parcel. Very sweet.
Yeah. Luckily for her, it was not a thing. We had the long picture strip they released,
Mm.
which I initially put in the book, but it took like 5 pages. So I shortened it a bit. But yeah, there were photos of him with the like long hair extensions, the black ones, and then Yeontan with the QR code face.
Yeah, the pixelated QR.
Yeah.
Because there was loads of chat about that. I saw that text exchange that was like, oh, V, what do you want for the album cover? And he was like, Yeontan. And they were like, yeah, but do you want to do like a photo shoot with you? And he was like, Yeontan. And they were like, okay, so just your dog?
He also did do a huge photo
He did.
there.
But at that stage, it was just, I was talking to one of my friends who's into the girl groups, and I was like, it's an absolute flex to just be like, I'm going to put out an album, the album cover, it's my dog.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to put on it. My dog's famous now.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
He was
Yeontan's been very involved.
Yeah,
That's,
and he came out at the show.
He did, yeah. It's a long way down the
Yeah, sorry.
So.
Spoiler.
So yeah, anyway, some lovely armies translated the letter we could see in one of the album package inclusion reels. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it is quite long. He sort of goes a bit back and forth in true Tay style, but he talked about how it's awkward writing a letter after so long, but he wanted to give us a few words from the heart. He's been preparing the album for a long time, but because of the way he works, which is slowly, it was delayed. But he thinks that allowed him to put more thought into it. Across the 10 years of BTS and ARMY, he thinks his thoughts have changed and that he's become a stronger person. So that was nice. And then he said, thank you for taking care of me, hugging me, cheering for / supporting me, and giving me courage. And for crying, being angry, being happy together with me for 10 years. Also, I'm sorry. I love you all very much. I purple you lots. TH Kim.
TH Kim.
I put the whole translation in the doc as well if you want to read it.
I think he's sorry for the shortness of the album, the time it took to do the album, the fact he didn't write on the album. What do you think he's sorry for?
I think the delay. I think he was doing more press at this point, so he was dancing with JK at Inkigayo, which was nice. And then he attended the premiere of his friend Park Seo-joon's film, which was called Concrete Utopia. And then he did a bunch of chaotic 2-second lives in true Tay style.
One where he showed us the sky.
Yeah.
And was like, it's a beautiful sunset, so I wanted to show you it. Bye.
Yeah.
Didn't even see his face. Just him out the window.
No.
Want to show you the sunset.
And they were always in the middle of the night, our time, so I always missed them. But yeah, they were not that informative. Really.
They weren't great.
It's not like he was like, right, I'm going to talk you through my album. It was
no,
more
he's
like,
still not done that.
No. The next day we had a release schedule, which was exciting. So it talked about the pre-release tracks and when we'd get them. And then there were some photos in there. And we found out that one of the MVs was going to be out just hours later, UK time, which was really exciting.
It's always nice when they do that. Confusing, but nice, because they're like, here's the schedule, something's coming now.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh.
I actually had work meetings that day, so I had to wait to watch it, which was cruel and unusual, I've put.
Cruel and unusual. What a cruel and unusual world we live in.
Yeah, well, normally my work is
to...
really slow, and I work from home, so I could have watched it straight away. Where this day I was like traveling around meetings with my colleague all day, and I was like, oh, this thing is on my phone.
To watch. Stuff to watch, man.
Yeah. But anyway, the MV, it was good. It showed Tay in a cave-like structure, which I wrote is giving Phantom of the Opera Underground layer vibes.
And David Bowie vibes from the looks and the sequins.
He wore a sequined red sleeveless top and a long sleeve gold sequin top. I thought it was really nice. There were bits of the lyrics over him, and he was inside like an old-fashioned TV set, as if we were watching a karaoke version of the MV, which added to the sort of retro feel. It starts with the karaoke writing countdown, like 3, 2, 1, and then the first chorus is on the TV set, still with the writing at the bottom. In verse 2, he's then with the TV sort of behind him in the cave, but it's just the lyrics on this. You know how the old TVs used to have that like storm thing where it's just like black and white dots, which I don't know if that means anything, but it might do.
What do we call that, the black and white dots?
In Norway, it's called snowstorm.
Snowstorm. Yeah, I think it, like the fizzing.
You might be too young to remember
You might
this.
be too young, yeah.
No, it's just like static.
Static. The static
See?
on the TV. Yeah,
Look
yeah.
who's too young.
Look who's too young. Do you even know what old
That's a
TV looks like?
compliment.
Yeah, I do. You put them big flat blocks in it.
Yeah.
Videos.
Yeah, video tapes.
VHSs. He filmed it in Spain. It is also inspired by the film The Velvet Goldmine, set in Britain during the early 1970s, and tells the story of fictional bisexual pop star Brian Slade, who faked his own death in a publicity stunt. And the film also covers Slade's rise to fame and him and his partner becoming increasingly famous and increasingly difficult to work with, and they suffer breakdowns in their personal and professional relationships. And that same morning, we also got a myriad of magazine covers. So there was an overwhelming 12 to choose from. Did you guys have favorites?
I think I would pick the golden close-up of this one.
Yeah, sort of the side of his face is lit up, but his fringe is all on his face. That's a good one. I quite like the other W magazine one, this sort of side profile where he's wearing the big earring and the sleeveless high neck top.
I think I voted for the grey one, the sleeveless grey one with the cards, the guns, and the wink.
Right. Yeah, so that was nice. And then 24 hours later, there were loads more photos, which, I'm not complaining. He obviously looks stunning, but that feels kind of redundant to say. Yeontan was in quite a lot of them. In some of them, he has the long extensions, and they all have a bit of a retro vibe. So there's one where he's wearing the red hat in front of the Ferrari poster. And there's ones where he's just in the Ford logo, but is a funk hoodie. And then on the 11th of August, there was the Rainy Days video, which was interesting. I've written personally, I thought the MV was more, like this MV was more interesting, but I preferred the other song. So the MV feels really on brand for him. So it opens with the words, "When you listen carefully, loops go wheeling, cozy and stuck." And there's commas after the first and the third sentence, but no other punctuation, which is a bit weird. You sort of expect there to be more after the cozy and stuck, but there isn't. It's got some artsy bits, loads of like strange camera functions, like the screen divides into loads of like small screens and close-ups of his eyes and fingers and stuff. There's piano music and then the sound of like phone typing and some like background noise chatter. We see him on the bed in a bright room, and then Tanny runs away from him. He looks over to the other side of the bed and sort of stretches his arm out as if he's remembering someone who used to be there next to him on the bed. It is very like what Suga does in the I Need You MV. And he did say in an interview with Rolling Stone that he was trying to like reference the Most Beautiful Moment in Life era. He then lies on his stomach with his face in the pillow and sort of sweeps his arm across the other side as well. So I'm quite sure we're meant to think that someone like used to be there and he's missing them. We then get an outside shot of the apartment. It is in fact not a rainy day, and he's relaxing in the room, cooking, picking up clothes, smelling them, and then he sets 2 plates at the table, even though it's just him there. And there are some black and white shots of him where it seems like someone else like is filming him, and he's smiling in those shots, whereas not really in the others. But people also speculate that it could be how Yeontan sees him, because he's shown like Yeontan sat in the chair that's in front of the second plate and sort of looking into his direction. People found out that dogs can only discern blue and yellow colors, so they're red-green colorblind. And obviously those shots are in black and white, so that sort of lines up, but not really. Tae then pours something which looks like sugar or salt or something on the food that is just cooked, but then we see the stuff he pours out and then it sort of goes back in the container. So it is again reminiscent of Most Beautiful Moment in Life and the sort of time travel hints that they gave in the music videos at the time. And then he's shown pouring over some papers and like circling stuff. The papers all have like little dots on them and like shapes. It might be like a code. And then he's got a stack of papers next to him while he's watching TV, and he falls asleep sort of on top of the stack of papers. And the TV switches between cartoons and live action footage. There's a close-up of a rose blooming and then time being turned back again so the rose closes up. And then there's a close-up of a tear in his eye, so he's sad. And then he starts molding clay models of his own face. The clay models sort of sing verse 2, so they start moving their mouths like to the music or to the words. He paints an alien over himself, and he uses a baguette as the brush. And then there's loads of like weird graph lines over his face. he then switches to like a black and white silhouette of his face from the side, and then the alien drawing they just made is in the corner, like mouthing or singing the words of the song. We see him in the chair in front of the TV, and the TV's playing the start of the music video, but in reverse. And I believe both this and the texting sounds you hear at the beginning and end are trying to refer to the like loop that he mentioned in the start of the writing, because obviously it said loops go wheeling. But yeah, I decided not to do a full deep dive in the theory behind the MVs at this stage. There's definitely like scenes that are repeated across the different music videos, but I'll tell you what I think at the end when we've done the final one, but then that might not be right and I might have missed loads of references. It was around this time as well that I think actually in one of his lives he told us that it's not Yeontan in the videos, it's a friend, he called him, who looks very much like Tanny. He apparently couldn't bring Yeontan to Spain, which you could understand why you wouldn't be able to do that. So he had to get a same breed of dog in Spain to shoot the music videos with him. On the 16th of August, there were more concept photos per the schedule. So initially there was 23 and then there was 35 more. And they're pretty much the same. But that's okay because obviously they're very beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Do you think there's more because the like producer or the creative director couldn't choose between them?
Maybe.
And they were just like, these are all too good. These have got to go. Or was it like Hive that were like, V, come on. The more visuals you can put out, the better. Like, who drives that?
I don't know. I think.
What do armies want from V?
For a while, I was a bit worried about what we were going to talk about in this episode because I was like, he's not really done anything except put out photos. And I'm like, there's only so much we can say in an audio format where we're like,
go look at the photos.
So he's in photos. They're all nice. He's wearing a jumper and then like a suit with shorts. And then like, it's not that interesting to listen to. They're in the Google Doc. Just go check them out if you haven't. I don't know why you haven't. If you haven't, why are you listening to this? But like,
you're lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's Natasha's dad.
Natasha's
Who's not seen any of the content but listens every time. Shout out to Natasha's dad.
Yeah. No, he looks beautiful. It feels a bit redundant to say, but I did write a long rant about how I think we need to take this time and really appreciate it, because I think, you know how like people talk about like young James Dean, obviously he died young, but or like young Marlon Brando or Sean Connery, or like I watched a movie, like an 80s movie with Rob Lowe. Obviously he's handsome still, but much older. But, like I could not believe how beautiful he used to be.
Like George Clooney.
Yeah, but George Clooney's still handsome. But yeah,
but not.
I think he's.
I don't want to bang him.
Oh,
now.
I would.
What, all George Clooney?
Yeah, for sure. He's George Clooney.
No, I know, but like, okay, yeah, but if it was a man that looked like George Clooney, it's a no, right?
Yeah, maybe just
because it's just not. Well, just because he's super old, yeah.
But
and
he's
got
still
grey
handsome.
hair.
Like I wouldn't bang someone in his 50s just because he was handsome, no. But like, I still accept that George Clooney, even in his 50s or 60s or whatever he is now,
is bangable,
objectively really handsome. And
yeah,
bangable, yes. Whereas like, I don't know, like another old celebrity who's not as handsome, maybe I wouldn't bang.
Fair.
Yeah. Anyway.
Who would you bang?
Right. No.
Anyway, go on.
Yeah, I think for Kim Taehyung, this is that time. This is that
peak.
time that we'll look back on in 50 years and tell our grandchildren, like, oh my God, remember young Kim Taehyung? He was the most beautiful man ever. And he's better than all those actors I mentioned, obviously, but it's that sort of like... And I've written, and young girls will be annoyed about having missed that time. Like, I'm annoyed about not having been around for, like, these actors' heyday, or, like, iconic celebrities like Marilyn Monroe or Princess Diana or Muhammad Ali or Michael Jordan. You'll look back at this time and be like, damn,
I really fucked up when I was born.
Yeah, really.
I really didn't nail.
Yeah, really bad.
No, you're right. It is peak tape. When we look at the albums and the photo cards and the photos, we almost run out of words.
Superlatives,
yeah, like oh, flawless, oh, incredible, oh, beautiful,
and
same. I think in the mini layover there was like one bad picture, which is where it's got the long extensions, and I was like, oh, that one's not like as good. It's still like flawless.
I like the
And
long
you're
black,
like, oh, I like it. And I'm like, is there any that we don't like?
the
There
long
isn't.
black extensions I think are fine. The long blonde extensions and the blue and V are a little tough, but I think we really need to, in the words of YouTuber Squish and Yoongi, appreciate what we have while we have it.
Yeah, be grateful for what we've got before it's gone.
Exactly. And it is like, I think it was you that said once we were looking at one of those like slideshows where all the members are there and like RM was there and then it was V next and you were like, well, RM's really handsome, but like next to this guy, he just looks really
I wouldn't.
normal.
We've had this chat offline as well, which is I wouldn't even comprehend being able to date V
No.
because I just feel so shit about myself every minute of every day.
Yeah.
And say we were out in the street, I'd be like, every fuck is like, what the fuck? I'm not like nowhere near beautiful enough to date V and be seen in public with
No,
him.
but I don't think
And then I
anyone
think
is.
anyone, exactly,
Yeah.
even if you married like you,
Yeah.
still like, well, no one. You're constantly the ugly one.
Yeah.
It's a real nightmare. It must be a really hard cross for him to bear.
It really must be. Yeah. I think, well, I'm going to get back to this narcissist comparison, but like, this is actually a matter where I'm like, I understand how it would be really hard for you to find someone to date because like no one is as beautiful as you are. So you might actually just end up marrying your own reflection. Like that's not out of the question for you.
Not to like jump forward too quickly, but in one of the content, you know, when he goes on the date with the army girl, she goes, "You're like a hologram."
Yeah.
And then he like pauses and all the noodles are like dribbling down his chin and he looks up at her and he's like, "Sorry." And she's just mesmerized and I'm like, still hologram. If I've got noodles down my chin, I've turned into like disgusting. But him, no, still hologram.
I was going to say this later because he says in one of the interviews, but he says in one of the interviews that he, for the photos where he's in the like Funk Ford logo jumper, apparently the producer just showed up outside his house and was like, "Look, we'll go to dinner." And then they just took those photos.
No,
so like, and he was like, "Yeah, so I was just wearing face lotion, like moisturizer."
No.
And
well, we don't like it when he wears too much makeup as well. We're always like, you've overdone this, you've ruined this beautiful
him,
masterpiece.
Yeah, he doesn't need that. But then I was just like, no way, you did not wake up looking like that. But
he did.
Yeah, and he was like, "Oh, I was just relaxing at home, and then she came over and wanted to take some photos of me, so then we used them as the concept photos." I was like, okay, cool.
And he looks great in those. Those are some of our favourites.
Those are some of the best ones. Of our favourites. But yeah, obviously he's also
super talented
and has all these original ideas.
Comfortable with
really
his skin.
Free and kind and wonderful spirit, and really, really charming. And like,
super charming.
Even though he's so beautiful, he makes these faces where you're like, "Oh my god, you're the cutest thing ever!" Like he's able to do both. And I don't think being that sort of cute and sweet and lovable and charming is a given when you look like that. Because sometimes when you can meet really attractive people, you're like, "Oh, you must be like kind of douchey."
Well, they're super arrogant, yeah.
So yeah, let's rejoice at living at the same time as this amazing human, guys, and being able to enjoy his content as it's being released.
Do you not die over these visuals?
No.
What do you mean, no?
I think if you were to put...
Who's the most handsome in BTS after JK?
Jimin.
Jimin? No. Come on.
No, if you said to Jimin, I'd look away from Jimin.
You'd be too shy.
I'd be too shy to look at Jimin in eye.
Well, obviously
I'd do maybe like 0.5 seconds. Like
blink, set on fire.
Or like just like look somewhere else, like at his hair or something, like above him. But Jimin would be like...
Well, Jimin obviously is really handsome, but I do think that he is much more hit and miss in like photos and stuff. Whereas,
he's just flawless.
He's just flawless. Yeah, he can be flawless at all times. And obviously, that's well documented in every single piece of content. They're like, "Oh my god, most perfect face in the world. V is here with us," and that must be a little stressful in a way because you might feel like that's the only reason that you're there. But
also, you don't have to do anything.
No,
you just turn up.
Yeah, but like I'm sure there's some days where he's like, "Oh, I feel like shit. Like I look like shit."
He does say stuff like, "Oh, my face is puffy today" or whatever. But like, you're still like 100 miles above everyone else.
99% the most attractive as opposed to 100%.
Yeah. But he's been named like the most handsome guy in the world like 16 times, 18 times, something like that. Like,
I feel like Tay can pull off more different looks. Whereas if you were to stick Jane in like some extensions, you'd think, oh.
Yeah, on the pulling off different looks, the next bits were there's videos of him doing fashion things I've put for W Korea in his Cartier ambassador roles. So there were like loads of him doing jewelry and like having his hair all slicked back. And then there was one with a lizard. And he was selling out Cartier pieces everywhere he went. Then there was a second schedule, which is a bit weird. But that told us that we were getting some blue MV teasers, and then that they would be putting Scenery, Winter Bear, and Snowflower on Spotify. So that was nice.
Which was a good day.
Yep. And there would be even more photos. So photo 3, the collection of photos number 3, would be coming, and the collection number 4. So yeah, that was good.
To be clear, the others have just had 1 or 2. Did
Yeah,
Jimin have 2? Jimin had
2.
dark and light, didn't he?
Yeah, and then I think Yoongi had his sister and something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had
I think
4.
RM just had 1.
And also there weren't like 25, 30 photos per drop.
It's just impossible to pick them. It's impossible to not.
He's too photogenic.
Yeah, it's
So he's
impossible
one of those people,
to put them.
because you can find some people who are really photogenic, like Lino from Stray Kids. He's really photogenic, whereas when you watch him in videos, it's not like...
It's not as striking.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas Tae's striking both in photos and in video.
We can't confirm in real life because we've not been close enough to him
No.
yet. Once he comes to pick up his awards, we'll let you know if we can look at him directly. Natasha will let you know because she can look at him for 0.5 seconds. We can't.
Yeah, I wouldn't. But yeah, so then we got the blue teasers. The first one was V walking along a corridor. He then knocks on the door a few times and no one answers. And he's in like a leather jacket with loads of metal details that we'd later get in the concept photos as well.
I saw lots of memes about the door that was like, Jimin's behind the door. The divorce is over. I didn't know they were divorced. It's like, why is Jimin behind the door? What's Jimin got to do with doors?
No, I don't know why Jimin would have been there. In the second teaser, he's driving a car and sort of nervously looking around. And then he cuts to him getting out of the car. And then Tae sings, blue, blue. So that's the extent of the teaser. So then there was an interview with W Magazine, which accompanied all those Cartier photos. It's not the world's greatest translation, but I did read it. The opening 2 sentences do our visual king justice, I wrote. And they go, V's serene radiance, once more unfurled, an effortless presence, even in the flutter of his lashes. Amidst the lavish lighting and intricate jewelry grazing him, V's poised demeanor exuded an irresistible allure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's accurate.
About the Love Me Again MV, they said, he stood as a modern embodiment of Narcissus, illuminated by suspended luminance that blazed as fiercely as the sun.
Jesus. This girl couldn't look at him directly.
But this whole interview was written, I wrote it as if like the translator sat there with like a thesaurus looking up synonyms for like every word, like Joey does on Friends. But
Well, maybe she's just a really good writer.
Maybe, but like it's just incredibly like superfluously flowery, overly complicated, like super frou-frou. It was just way more than you needed for an interview with V from BTS.
Yeah.
But it made him sound really like sophisticated.
Which he is.
Yeah. I don't know whether when he speaks he sort of radiates this sort of eloquence, but they sort of, even the stuff that he says, they write it in this same way. Yeah, he said that the burning question that kept coming up before the comeback was, do I need to diet for this grand return?
His hair?
No, diet.
Die what?
No.
Diet. No, he didn't.
I think he
was at the gym a lot. Yeah,
he worked out a lot. Yeah. About working with New Jeans producer Min Hee-jin, he said he was inspired by FX's Pink Tape, so reached out to her after recalling it. They asked him about how JK had said that they usually give each other the first listen to their new music, but that their tastes are really different, and that V prefers the calm and cool. And they asked him what cool means to him. And he answered that cool carries various nuances, but the example that he gave was when RM sang his unreleased song at Suga's final D-Day concert. Whenever he heard that song, he thinks, I've got to sing something cool like that.
Oh.
Yeah. And then they asked him what makes him nervous, and he said he quite likes the joyous anticipation, quote unquote, before a performance. And about what compliments he finds helpful, he said, well, every compliment is welcome. On such days, I find myself dancing all the way home, which feels very on brand.
But slow.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they asked about the most positive aspects of his persona, and he said although he doesn't operate at a rapid pace, he thinks he has a steadfast and unyielding resilience, like a tanker.
Really slow, but massive.
Yeah. But then he said he thinks his weakness is operating at his own pace, which tests ARMY's patience. Apparently, this album was meant to come out in December last year.
Really?
But the process was extended, so he felt apologetic. That's what he said.
When he says ARMYs, he means hypes.
Yeah.
Like we weren't.
No, but we didn't know. Well, I guess like in 2020, they thought they were getting his first mixtape. He talked quite a lot about needing to evolve and unveil new sides of himself as an artist in order to keep the work interesting. And they asked, with life unfurling, what aspirations are kindling within V at present? And he answered, strikingly, I'm not one swayed by intense ambitions. I've been told my desires are tempered. There's merit in ambition, of course, but my barometer often measures the day in degrees of happiness. That said, when it's a photo shoot, that's the moment I reveal ambition. And then he laughed. I'm like, he didn't say it like that, but sure. No, but like my barometer often measures the day in degrees of happiness. Like that. It's just the most complicated way ever of saying.
Maybe it's the translation as well that you're losing.
No, exactly. But that's what it is. I think it didn't flow. And it's because they put too many of these big words in. Anyway, if you want to read it, there's a link to it.
Feels like, when RM used to translate the mean comments into positive ones.
Oh yeah.
This girl's sort of been like, well, I'm translating it. Yeah.
He sounds like he lives in like 1850 and yeah. Which is kind of on brand, but like we know he doesn't talk that way.
It doesn't talk like that.
Right. But then I don't know whether whoever wrote it up has
it's like double flowered. Like the person that wrote it up wrote it flowery and then she translated it even more flowery.
Yeah. I don't know who translated it. Could be a he or a she. But yeah, at the end they asked if he has a dream stage and he said it's about ARMY always, being in their presence, feeling their energy. That's paramount.
Wow.
There's also a eye contact video on what we were talking about before. There's a video where he just makes eye contact with the camera the whole time.
No.
I'd recommend checking it out. It's nice, but it was hard to watch it. You can give it your own.
Sure will.
They released an Ask Anything clip. He talked about putting Tan on a diet and cutting his hair recently. And then he said the body part he's most confident about is his hands.
Oh, wow. Remember when we did the handprints? I've got the same size hands as V, so I'm going to take that as well.
Yeah.
Fair enough. My hands are just so elegant in this barometer of life.
They radiate subtle elegance.
My clandestine nails that are bit to the core can only represent true suffering. For any non-English speakers, I'm really sorry.
Yeah, we're not saying anything about you, don't worry. And then he talked about Barbie being the most impactful movie he's watched recently. And he talked about how standard jazz would have been too complex for the album, so he tried to make it a bit more contemporary and popular. He thinks Solo V is a different person from BTS V. And he said making a solo album was harder than he thought, so he really wants ARMY to like it. And then he said he's trying to buy a Cartier crash watch at auctions, but apparently it's really hard to buy. And according to Google, I googled it, it costs between $150,000 and $300,000.
It's a lot.
It's just a flex. Oh yeah, I'm just trying to buy this watch.
Yeah, he was like, oh, there's a chance I won't be able to buy it. I think that just means that it won't be available from the auctions.
Yeah, definitely.
And he talked about his favorite items from the shoot were the earrings because he said that they suited him and made him look cool.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then they sold out.
I'm sure. There was another clip of him asking us to pre-order and pre-save his album, and it was quite cute because he goes like, "Hi, this is V from BTS. Please can you save my album?"
It's very sweet.
Yeah. And then we got 18 more beautiful photos.
Is that the fifth collection or is that the fourth?
That's the third, I think.
The fifth, right.
Third. Somewhere similar to previous ones and somewhere looks from the MVs and from the blue teaser. He's got some of the sequin outfits. He's got the big leather jacket, long blonde mullet. And then in some of them, he's still got his dark hair. They're fine. They're really, no, as in, obviously,
They're clandestine.
sublime in their beauty. On the 31st, he appeared on Dingo, which is just that show that you were talking about where you surprise a fan. He met this girl at a cafe. She was someone who was in the military, I believe, yeah.
Training to be. She had her officer's exam.
Yeah. And they took some photos together. He looked really so perfect it would almost be annoying. It looked a little like she'd taken them in those photo booths where they're already in the picture and you can like pretend you're taking a photo with them.
And in the like intro to her on her wall, she had those of where she'd been into the photo booth and taken them next to V, and then the third one was one's actual V. And he said he'd keep the strip and put it on his wall as well.
Yeah, I included some of the photos in the Google Docs, so you can look at them if you haven't seen them. But yeah, they're wearing little like headbands in some of them. Yeah, it was really lovely clip. He seemed quite nervous and shy. He struggled to sort of look at her at first.
I watched it first without the subtitles.
Oh, yeah.
Because it had come out and I'd seen a couple of clips and I was just so endeared. Like this army girl, I think she might have called Haeyoung or Haeyoung.
Yeah, I think she was.
She was just so patient and measured.
Yeah.
But like you could see like how overwhelmed she was, but she did such a good job at keeping it together. Even from the first clip when she said about him being a hologram, you can then see her try and like retreat back in and like push the fangirl down. And then he gets up and he's like, oh, I'll clear the plates. And she's like, no, I'll clear the plates. And he's like, Hyung will do it. And then again, she's like, and then they go into the photo booth and she's quite shy. And then he's like, no, come closer. Let's do this pose. And you could just see it like on her face. And then they go to the arcade and they play loads of games. And he beats her like at every game. And like her hands are like shaking on the hockey puck. And you're just like, oh my God, how do you get through this day? But then I think they do darts and she beats him. And she's like celebrating a little, and then again like looks at him and then says, "Oh God!" Yeah. And then right at the end, they have this big chat in the car about her insecurities and how she'd failed the officer's exam, and then at the end he leaves, and she just bursts into tears with the producer, literally like sobbing, shaking, crying because obviously she kept it cool for like the whole day. And then he comes back.
Yeah, he does.
He's got in his car and then realizes she's crying. He comes back to be like, don't cry, it's going to be okay. And I was like, this is really sweet, but also really mean. Because she's just like, oh, I fucked this now. Like, I don't look cool together. Oh. But yeah, then he's really comforted and they have another hug. And then he leaves again. And it was just, I watched it without the subtitles. Then I watched the clips. Then I watched it with the subtitles. I think it might be a little bit, like Rolling Hall. I'm going to get home drunk sometimes and be like, I need to watch V on this date with this army. I need that little comfort blanket. It was really great if you like army sentimentality. And also I was super jealous.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I think that sort of covered most of what happened in that clip. I think they talked a little bit about how, like you said, she'd failed an exam last year and she was like, oh, I felt really low. She said she'd been listening to 0 O'Clock and Hug Me,
which is my favorite song. Well, a second to Louder Than Bombs.
She said she also sort of struggled to let people in and she'd sort of almost cut off everyone she knew because she felt like a failure and all that sort of stuff. And then he said that he could relate because he didn't have many friends in middle school. And they had a long talk about that. But yeah, he was quite like sympathetic and was able to relate to her. So that was nice.
He also looked flawless even in just a Celine black tee.
I think he had like on a jacket before and then she was like, oh, you look so dressed up, and he was like, oh, I'll take the jacket off to look more casual.
I saw on the Twitterverse, the Instagram, that apparently he gave her the jacket.
Oh
yeah,
that is nice.
Bitch. Love her. She was brilliant. Happy for her.
Yeah. She kept saying it was like a dream and that he looked like an illusion. And then he also said that he dreamt about having a day like this, just having fun with the army.
Oh, and good news. He then posted on his Instagram that she passed her officer's exam.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, she sat it again and passed it. And then she texted the producer or him and he'd put it on his Instagram like, congratulations to her for passing it. I knew you could do it.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, and then they appeared on a show called Pixit, which is the same one that Jimin appeared on, where Jimin pretended to be a fan, like an army that lives in a rural area, whereas Tay was pretending to be a cat owner among a group of cat owners. And the cat owners knew that there was one like imposter from Team Dog. And they were meant to do like this texting to find the imposter. But they figured him out straight away. I think there were like 2 or 3 votes where they all had to vote for who they thought the imposter was, and they all voted for him, including him, who voted for himself.
And that's what happened in Jimin's one. He ended up conceding and voting for himself in the final round.
Yeah, well, Tay voted for himself all along.
Oh.
But I think at the start he was trying to be tactical, but at the end he was like, no, I'm not able to turn this around. But yeah, the stuff they cut him out on was pretty strange, I thought. They thought it was ridiculous that he didn't know what a water type cat was, which I also didn't know.
Yeah,
but apparently
I didn't know.
It's a cat that likes to bathe. You never bathe the cats, do you?
No,
because they clean themselves.
They clean themselves. Yeah, I think you can get cats that will be bathed. I've seen like cats in baths on TikTok.
But I presume if we were to try and put them in the shower and be like, oh,
yeah, they jump
bath time,
straight
they would be
out.
like, no.
Yeah,
but that's what all these cat owners were saying. Oh, whenever I bathe my cat, it's always such a struggle. But like if I had a water type cat, that would have been amazing. But obviously he didn't know what that was. He thought it was a cat that liked drinking water.
Which is all cats.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I don't know how you fluff that up in an interview. No wonder they caught him out.
Yeah. They asked him what it means when a cat stops sidestepping when they get older, which I didn't know. Apparently it's when they arch their backs.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently if they do that and try and run away at the same time, they like run sideways.
Oh.
But then older cats don't do it, apparently. And then he said they were talking about how like silly habits that the cats have, and all the people were like, oh, it's so annoying when he walks on my keyboard, which I didn't know that cats do that because they do that often. But then he was like, oh, and when they turn off the computer, and they were all like, lol, cat would never turn off the computer. That's so dumb. And he was like, no, my friend's cat did. So then he was quite sad. He kept saying that he mentioned like real examples from videos that he'd watched or like researched that he'd done online or from hanging out with his friend's cat. But he played along until the end, which was nice. And then on the 5th and 6th of September, he kept dancing to some hip hop and then some like jazzy music on his Instagram story, which led me to believe that there would be choreo. But then he said that there was only freestyle in an interview after that. And then there were more concept photos.
Shocker.
Yeah, so this is our 4th set of concept photos. They were mostly from the slow dancing video. So he's like on the beach. There's quite a lot of black and white ones. Some of just like close-ups of his face. There's one where he's not wearing a shirt, but it's sort of from the back or like from the side. They're a little bit more like subdued.
Artsy.
Yeah. He then appeared on You Quiz on the Block, which I've linked a couple clips to that, but I couldn't find any with subtitles. But there were some K-armies that helpfully summarized what he talked about. So apparently he spoke a lot about his grandma and his time living with her. And it was a very emotional recollection of memories and very sweet. And he said he visited her grave to speak to her about his new album as well.
Oh, very sweet.
They asked if he showed his solo songs to the members, and he said he only showed them to J-Hope and Jungkook because the others were unfortunately too busy with their schedules.
Oh.
Yeah. And he said that he recorded some of the music for the album at Jungkook's house, and that Jungkook sort of helped him direct. And people were like, oh my God, it's going to be produced by Jungkook, but it's not.
Not even a bit.
No. I mean, maybe it was just for the guide.
Mm.
And they spoke about himself and how his mindset's changed in the course of the years thanks to the members, and that he now thinks as a part of Seven.
Oh.
And he hopes at the end of the road he's traveling. He wants ARMY's members, family, and friends to be together.
Very sweet.
Yeah. And then at midnight KST on the 8th, there was a teaser for slow dancing. And then obviously when we woke up the next morning, it was here. I've written it was pretty much exactly what I expected, but in a good way. He'd already given us 2 out of the 5 songs, and we'd had 2 more teasers. So he hadn't really left a lot to the imagination in terms of like brand new stuff on the album.
Hmm.
But yeah, I listened to the whole album as soon as I woke up, in order, of course. And then I watched the MV for Slow Dancing. How did you guys listen? You didn't listen to it for ages, did you?
Yeah.
You're like, it's raining today. I've just listened to Rainy Days. We were like, that was 2 weeks ago.
No, I definitely listened to Forever Rain. But no, I woke up one hungover evening and we're like, oh, I'll actually listen to that now. And then put it on, just like in order. And then just kept going back to the beginning.
Nice. How long was that after the release?
Couldn't tell you.
Okay. All right. And did you watch the music video?
No.
Okay. Have you watched it by now?
Yes.
Okay.
Watched it about an hour ago.
Cool.
I remember waking up and it being V-Day.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
then I was all, Alexa, play Layover, and then she played it through.
Uh-huh.
And because it was quite gentle, like sort of half snoozing, half listening to it.
Uh-huh.
And then more V-Day whilst I was working.
Yeah.
But because we'd already had the 2 MVs in the pre-tracks, I think it was like midway through the day.
Yeah.
Or maybe the end of the day. And I'd said to you, like, oh, what do you think of Layover? And you were like, yeah, have you watched the MV? And I was like, oh no, I forgot there was an MV. And then we watched it together.
Yeah. I don't really remember a lot of like having a lot of thoughts about it on the day. It was sort of
The
like
slow dancing MV.
relaxed background noise type of vibe. Like on the whole album, I mean. I remember playing it and being like, oh yeah, that was nice. And then, sort of going about my day. And then I've sort of returned to it since. But
I played it a lot on the Sunday.
uh-huh.
Because on the Sunday I was with a non-army. And they weren't super offended by it. They were like, oh, this is nice. And I was like, yeah, this is exactly what BTS are like.
Yeah.
It's definitely a Sunday track.
Yeah.
It's a Sunday album. It's winding down, relaxing, chilling.
Well, he said he wants people to listen to it when coming from work or school. So I guess those are other days. But yeah, the slow dancing MV, it starts with him in the sea, or what I presume is the sea. It's got loads of jellyfish. He's with some very cool looking friends I've written. They're all very like eclectic. They're in a van and they take a Polaroid and you see some sort of like luminescent squiggly computer lines I've written over a few of them. And then when you get the Polaroid, the people in the car are all Tae. So like he takes a photo with his friends, but then in the Polaroid it's all him. And again, this is throwback to the universe story, and you said that too. We see the same sort of squiggly lines across the landscape, and there's a spot of like shrubbery shaped like Yeontan's face.
Oh, yeah.
And then he's having fun on the beach with his friends. There's fruit in the water randomly, and then someone opens a briefcase, like a metal briefcase full of fruit. And then next to him, Tae sat with the same metal briefcase and opens that, and then he has a laptop with loads of like green and black code language on it. And then we see a glimpse of him in the studio, which resembles the one from Rainy Days.
Yeah.
And then we see a screen playing shots of him on the beach and the model of the hillside that they've just driven through. And then they're back on the beach trying to catch some like weird luminescent but translucent spiral things. Like they're kind of like squiggly in the sky that they're trying to catch with butterfly nets. And then there are some bugs as well that also emit this like pulsating lights. And then he's back in the studio. It seems like he flicks on a button to turn the sea scenery back on. And then he's floating in the sea for a bit with his friends. And then that bit has the squiggly lines as well. And then he's back to the studio looking through a hole in a box. He sees a ship, which then appears on the TV screen. And then a projector screen in the studio. So there's all these screens with the ship. And then Tan is there too. And then Tae and his friends are on the boat. And then Studio Tae looks in the mirror and the spots of light flicker across his face as well. If you've watched the behind the scenes of like a fantasy movie like Harry Potter, the way that they did Voldemort's face, they put those dots on the actor's face to make it look like flatter or like digitally alter it later.
The green screen dots.
Yeah. So it's like that, but he's got all these lit up spots that turn up on his face. And then he sort of shiftily looks around, then walks through the studio, which has loads of these old-timey TV sets playing the scenes from the beach. So obviously these old-timey TV sets keep coming up. across the different MVs. We go through the TV back to the beach where they're dancing. There's a short clip of him dancing in front of an apartment block that looks like the one from Blue, which we'll get to. Then we see Studio Tae dancing inside this little box bit that's sort of at the back of the room. It's like a one-man size box, like a phone box size. And his movements are copied by this little figure that's in this little glass container thing. And it's mapped out by these like green dots. So it looks like the little green dot stick figure thing is like learning to dance from the dance moves that Tae in the box does. This is quite hard to explain, but if you watch it, it'll make sense. And then it switches between the beach and the apartment block with them dancing. They're back on the boat watching what looks like the northern lights, but it could also be similar. I wrote to the squiggly lines. And quite a lot of them are wearing these tin crowns. I presume they're tin crowns. They look like big tin crowns. And then it switches to what seems like a computer model of the landscape, but with like a V-shaped lagoon right in the middle, which I think is the beach where they've been hanging out, but that doesn't make any sense because it's landlocked. And I actually was like, is it a beach? Is it freshwater? But I looked up whether there's jellyfish in freshwater. Turns out there is, but it looks really clear, the water, so it doesn't look like freshwater usually looks. I don't know. It could be that it's just meant to be freshwater, but I thought maybe this like landlocked beach was a sort of signal that this isn't real. Tae falls asleep on the boat, and then he's suddenly in front of the white apartment taking a photo with Yeontan. The squiggly lines appear in front of Tanny's face as he was holding the phone, taking the picture. And then the video ends. So yeah, bit of a weird one. It looks really nice and chill. I think when I first watched it, I was like, oh yeah, he's having fun on the beach. Good day. But I think on reflection, we're meant to think that he's creating this beach scene in the studio. As in, Studio Tae has been like cozy and stuck, if you will, for so long that he's figured out how to make this imaginary ideal life for himself, which is why when he takes the picture, it's just him, not him and his friends.
So it's like a fantasy land.
Yeah. So that's what I think. But again, I could be wrong.
The Rainy Days MV, as we talked about, Yeontan as the representation as the romantic interest in the dogs, the person sat at the other side of the table. I think that representation maybe falls over into slow dancing, in that you're still seeing these images of Yeontan on the mountains, which doesn't make any sense. So you're still seeing all these representations of this lost love that's represented by the dog. That's what I was thinking. The one that he lost in Love Me Again. The dog becomes the representation. The dog is there,
though. I don't think he's not missing the dog. The dog is still there.
Well, yeah, I think that's what it is. I think in Love Me Again, they break up. In Rainy Days, he's thinking about the lost love interest and reminiscing about the times when they were together.
Which is not the dog.
Which is the dog. He's lost the dog.
So when he says, I wish you could love me again, is he talking to the dog?
Yes. Or to the person that he's lost. He's never actually the dog. The dog represents the woman or the lost love. So Love Me Again is we've broken up. Rainy Days is I'm remembering this relationship and what it was like.
Yeah.
And then Slow Dancing is him creating a fantasy world to get away from the loss. And within that fantasy world, the dog still, the lost love is still permeating. That's why he sees it everywhere. But then I'm get lost because I don't know how the other two videos connected.
Well, I guess we can talk about Blue and then get back to it. I think maybe that's the best way to go about it. Because if you were thinking about a past relationship, wouldn't you see that person's face?
No, but
not your dog.
No, but he uses the dog as the representation for the person. So he said in Rainy Days, oh, it's about my happiness with the dog and me missing my dog when I'm away from him.
Right.
But obviously it's not about that. It could be, but I don't think it is. I think that dog represents the person within the relationship, but he's not going to put a woman in the music video. I think he uses Yeontan as a representation of someone he's loved.
Okay. I think let's talk about Blue and then we can talk about whether we still think that. The next thing that was out was called Spotify, where he did that with Spotify. He was playing these games while explaining the album and the songs. So the first game was a puzzle, and then one was an ASMR game. And we found out he's bad at multitasking, because whenever they asked him questions while he was doing the games, he had to be like, hold on, I'll answer later. He said Layover is about the starting point of his life. It's very rare to go straight to the final destination of our lives, he said. So briefly rest, self-reflect, look back on your goals, take some time. That's why he called it Layover. They asked when he recommends we listen to it, and he said he doesn't know. He just hopes it'll cross our minds from time to time. He thinks it'll be good to think about it occasionally.
Fine.
They asked him which member he'd take to a desert island. He said Jungkook, because he's good at everything. There's nothing he can't do. And then there was a bit at the end where they talked about what K-pop songs he likes and what ARMY would recommend for him. And he kept saying he really loves NCT U's The Seventh Sense. Do you know that one?
Yes, I do. Banger.
Yeah. He said it like multiple times. He was like, I really just love that song. And other than that, he only really mentioned Hype artists. He mentioned the dance challenge he did with New Jeans, the Hype Boy. They asked him, like, how long did it take you to learn the choreo? And he said 10 minutes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. He also did an unboxing with Spotify. So he answered questions from ARMY around the world. I actually remember seeing this, like, I couldn't remember where I found it, so I couldn't go back to it. But it was like a prompt to be like, ask Tay some questions. And I think I clicked on it, filled out my details. And it was like, what questions do you want to ask him? And I was like, I don't know. So then I decided to think about it and come back to it. But then I couldn't go back to it because I couldn't remember where it was. Anyway, he answered questions from ARMY around the world about the concept. He said he wanted it to be relaxed and easygoing, not overly conceptual. He wants the album to feel like you're on your way via a turning point. And his favorite hobbies these days is reading comics.
Nice.
Yeah. And the difference between V and Kim Taehyung is that V is a persona he has to act out on stage, and Kim Taehyung is the son of his dad.
Oh, very sweet.
So next we were going to talk about some of the interviews, but we already have gone quite long and we still have to do the awards, so I don't think we'll have time to talk about all of it or the music shows that he did, really. But I'll leave the links in the doc because they're nice. And one of the music shows he brought out Yeontan, which was very cute.
And Yeontan walked out.
Yeah.
You know, I tagged you in that reel of Yeontan's been training 6 years for this, 6 years for debut, and Hobie's got Yeontan doing the mic drop choreo at the start, and then he's on the stage.
Yeah.
He's been traded with Hobie. So cute.
So cute. Yeah. So you can watch that by clicking the links in the Google Doc, which you will find in the description. We also don't have time to go super long on the interviews, but in short, he did Running Man, it's a game show with comedians. And he won a game where he had to pretend not to be the king of the thieves. He was just a regular thief, but he had to pretend that he was the king to win the game, and he did it. So that was good. But
it's
we knew
all that practice, from Run BTS.
Exactly.
All those lies he told to Jimin.
And then he revealed that he doesn't know what ETA stands for
What's your
in
ETA?
New Jeans song. But lots of them didn't know. A lot of the comedians as well. They had like quiz teams, so only one of the teams knew. And then he released the Blue MV. He essentially is outside a block of flats in a car, and then he goes up to one of the flats and tries to knock on the door, and then he looks under the plant pot for a key. The flat has loads of plants outside, none of the other flats do. I don't know if that means anything. He drives away, comes back the next day, does the same thing. The third time he comes back, he follows a building manager down some stairs and looks very dejected when he gets to the bottom and sort of loses him. He sits outside on some swings, and we see a dog lead. A blurry figure appears in the corner and puts the dog on the ground. And Yeontan comes up to him, and you realize all along he was trying to get his dog back.
Oh, somebody stole his dog.
Well, I thought from his ex. I guess maybe they had the dog together in this scenario. The flats are the same as from Slow Dancing, but he has the dog, so that makes me think that Blue must be set before Slow Dancing, because in Slow Dancing he has the dog.
Right.
Yeah. He's got the dog in Rainy Days as well. I think probably Blue is either the first one or the second one after Love Me Again. And then obviously he went on Such Ta. which we also don't have time for an in-depth discussion of, unfortunately, but he was very nervous, which Sugar was like, why are you nervous? It's just the two of us talking and drinking. He talked a bit about how V had felt quite awkward around the older members for the first few years of the band, and how he was really unfocused back when he was a trainee and debut idol, but he's matured a lot. And then he talked about in 2018 how they were all having a rough time and were exhausted because they had such a busy schedule, and he was begging for just one day off.
And he wanted to get hurt.
Yeah.
He said, I might be thinking about hurting myself.
Well, injuring himself.
Injuring himself, and then
so that he
he'd be able to have a day off.
Stuff. Yeah. Poor thing.
It's really sad.
Yeah, V said he was especially exhausted. He talked about how Sugar had sent him that text that he talks about in the Festa dinner that ended in I love you. And he's like, oh, Sugar sent me a text that ended with I love you.
Didn't he send it to both of them, to V and JK?
Yeah, but it doesn't say that in the Festa dinner.
No.
But yeah, apparently the text had been like around the time that they had debated breaking up, and Sugar had sent V and JK this long text being like, you guys are so important to the band. Like, this is how much you guys contribute. Can't go on without you. Like, I love you.
It's a bit interesting to think of that time when V's really tired and he wants a day off. But obviously we know that V's not doing any of the writing or production. So you'd have the rap line ultimately who are doing the same amount of dance practice and shows and concerts, as well as also in their spare time writing music, writing lyrics, producing music. And obviously some of the vocal line aren't doing that. So then it must be really difficult to be able to sort of pipe up and say, I'm really struggling, I'm really tired, especially when you can see other people not working harder but putting more work in, but you can't really put a cap or a criteria on what it means for any individual to be tired. So I can imagine it'd be difficult for him to speak up, and then maybe difficult for some of the older members to accept that he is struggling if it appears that he's doing less. But tiredness and burnout and mental exhaustion, it's all relative, right? You can get to a burnout stage even if he did have less responsibilities on. So I think it was a really good thing for Sugar, who we know obviously does loads and loads and loads of work, to reach out and be like, you're a really valuable member. I hope you're doing well. We still love you.
Yeah.
I think that'd be super important to the dynamic.
Yeah, definitely. There's quite a long chapter about this in the book. They were clearly all feeling it. It's not like we was tired and everyone else was fine. It was, So that is sad, but they have had a lot of time off now, which he is about to talk about in his next interview. So he then went on I Use Palette, where he also talked about how the album was delayed because he loves taking time off. So that goes hand in hand. And in December, he had an album almost ready, but he said he didn't release it because it was too disappointing. This album he's 90% happy with, but the remaining percent is because there's no intense dance number, which I think is okay because it wouldn't have gone in this album.
With slow dancing.
No, but maybe in the next one. And then they performed a couple of songs together, and he really liked her band. He wanted to work with them separately, and she was a bit like,
no, they're my band.
Yeah. She said she had to think about it. But they said they're really good friends. After that, there was the For Us MV also came out. So after that, there was the For Us MV. He started off on that one in the sea, floating and having fun with his friends. Then live Layover epilogue flashes across the screen, and he's on a director's chair in his gold outfit from the Love Me Again MV, but he's got like gold trousers and a big gold coat. He sings along, but then he sort of starts talking as if he's given like an interview or doing some directing behind the scenes. He's on the beach and very shirtless. There's a flash of what looks like a storyboard when he's dancing outside the white apartments, but we see like how the scene is lit, and then he's in the rainy days outfit in the apartment playing with Tani, and then he's outside the apartment in his blue outfit, and it's a bit behind the scenesy, but he's smiling and doing silly things when he was sad in the MV, so that's nice.
I think the most intense part of the MV is when he's like looking down the camera, like when he's sat in that director's chair and he's like looking directly at you, and that's when you feel like you would set on fire, because it's all like happening around him and then he's just staring, looking flawless.
And he's got a bit of sheen on his face as
He's
well
got a
from
bit
the
of sheen.
sequins.
Yeah,
Mm.
he just looks. That's
He
peak
looks a
V.
bit like
peak
Edward
V.
Cullen.
Yeah, he
but,
does
you know,
look a
better.
bit like a vampire, but better.
Yeah. Yeah, he drives through the landscape and we see the luminescent little squiggly lines. And then we get more sort of behind the scenes shots from the different MVs, and he's seen putting up posters with the tick box V logo across the neighborhood as the credits sort of roll across, and it's all the people that were involved with the album and the different music videos. Yeah, sort of feels like the Layover highlight reel. Gives us a bit of a glimpse behind the curtain.
It shows that they're all clearly connected in some way, and they're all part of the same concept and storyline.
Yeah, well, we thought maybe that I was trying to do the analysis of the MVs before we'd got the For Us MV, and I was like, this doesn't make that much sense, but maybe the For Us MV will come and like clear everything up, but it didn't really.
It didn't.
But, you know, it was still interesting.
And there's still time for it to become clearer, right, when we do the full review of Layover.
Yeah, we'll try again with the analysis. What did you think about the music videos, Natasha?
I like them. They're very pretty and aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, good. I think that's it of content that we were planning to go over, except for a couple of music shows and performances like Tiny Desk. But I'll keep all those links in the document for you to peruse in your own time.
Yeah, Tiny Desk was really cute.
Yeah. I don't think I actually watched it.
I'd recommend it. Christine, lagging.
Well, I watched. Did you watch Palette?
I didn't watch I's Palette. No, but you, as you know, the host, you normally watch them all.
Yeah.
If we're going to call out anyone, it'll be Natasha. We're still not even sure. Listen, jokes. She has.
Yeah, she has. She has. She gave her opinions on it throughout. And she's about to do it again because we're about to go to awards.
Oh, what time?
Yay!
We still don't have a jingle for the awards.
So, first question. What do we think about the album overall?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I loved it.
Of
love,
course.
love.
Yeah, you were very excited about it before it came out. So did it live up to your expectations?
Yeah, I've been excited about it. It really sits within my like wheelhouse in terms of a genre.
Mm-hmm.
It's soft, it's calm, it's easy, it's soothing. You can listen into it. It's sort of a go-to for me. I'll seek it out, and I'm drawn more towards the softer stuff than more of the hype stuff.
Yeah.
It didn't disappoint me. It was exactly as I expected, and it's been like a little warm, fuzzy hug. I looked for it yesterday when I was really sick. So I was really sick yesterday in the cab. I had loads of stuff going off, and I was like, what do I want to listen to? And it was Layover, and I put it on. Big fan. Good job. Nailed it.
Nice.
Natasha.
I thought it was okay. It's very V, a little bit slow, although I do like the slow songs. Not really a jazzy gal, but I'll listen to it more and maybe it'll grow on me.
Okay, yeah, I think that's as expected as well from you. Yeah.
Christine?
I thought it was good. It was very him. I think we've hammered this point to death, but it's a shame he didn't write any of the songs.
Yeah.
And
because he could have.
Yeah, or he could have at least contributed like a couple of lines of lyrics, but then I guess he would have got finished songs, it sounds like, from these writers. But then I guess a lot of the writers were international, so they couldn't have produced all the Korean lyrics, surely. So I guess maybe he could have tried to contribute a bit in that area.
I don't really know how it works.
Not me neither. And like Faye's, it is short, but I think obviously, like we said, he's benefited from the others sort of coming before him with the non-originally written stuff, looking at Seven, and the short stuff, looking at Face. So I wasn't too upset about that. It's easy listening, which he said is what he wanted, which is good. I've written that I don't know that I'll seek it out loads, but I'll also probably not ever skip any songs. But I think actually what I will do is if I need to show K-pop or BTS songs to any non-armies, especially I guess if I know that they're into more slow, chill stuff, like my mom, for example, maybe I will go to this for that.
Yeah, it's good for that.
Yeah.
I played it on a date.
Yeah.
Played it on repeat, and I didn't feel like sometimes I can feel a bit like, oh, is this gonna send the wrong vibe?
Yeah.
This is, I'm not gonna be blasting Cypher Part 2, but this felt like it fits. I was like, oh, I've got to listen to this album. Anyway, he'd said, oh, this sounds really cool. I was like, it is.
Yeah, no, I played it in my car with my mom and my sister, and I knew my mom liked it because I played her the like pre-release tracks, but my sister was like, oh, this is really nice. So
yeah, it's inoffensive,
definitely easy listening,
and
yeah, it's nice as well. And you know, I think the MVs are good, and that shows sort of some of his creative input, I would assume. Yeah. All right, next question. What do we think about the lead single picks? Yeah, so I thought it's hard to discern what the lead tracks are aside from Slow Dancing, really, because obviously he's released two previously. He said he picked that song because it felt like him, which I think is fair, because he always talks about how he's really slow, like in doing stuff. And I think he's done a good job in allowing all of the songs their time to shine, if you know what I mean. Like doing the two pre-release songs, obviously it gave away a lot of the album up front, but then what it also did was like allow you a bit of time with each song. So yeah, I think that was good. We've got the follow-up question of what would we have switched, if anything, but I don't think I would have switched anything. I thought the way that you released it made sense, because if you did just done Love Me Again and then Slow Dancing, those are two quite similar songs, but then Getting Rainy Days broke it up a little bit. So yeah, I thought it all made sense, to be honest.
Agreed. I think Slow Dancing's a really good lead track.
Yeah.
Very similar to what you said, in that when Love Me Again came out, I was like, oh, this is brilliant, I love this. And then Rainy Days came out and I was like, oh, this is also really brilliant, I love this. Maybe I like this a bit more than I liked Love Me Again. And then Slow Dancing came out and I was like, oh, I really like this one as well. And then that just sort of continued every time like an MV came out.
Yeah.
I felt like there was just enough time with each of them. If anything, having two pre-release tracks on an album that's only got 6 songs.
5 songs.
5 songs, yeah. Oh, because one's the piano version.
Yeah.
Felt a bit aggressive. But then it's good that you followed them all up with an MV after, so there's no like lost tracks.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I think it's only aggressive if we do like a review like we've done now. I've not thought like during the album release, I didn't think like, whoa, why are you doing 2 pre-release tracks? Like, I didn't find that jarring. But obviously now, trying to answer a question like this, it's apparent, but I don't think it would be otherwise.
But like if he'd not done an MV for Blue, for instance, it'd be like, oh, so you really hated Blue.
No, but he said Blue is really special for him.
No, I know, but he did do an MV.
Yeah, no, I know.
So it's like they all got their MVs as well. So I think it's just him being like, I like all of these, or I wouldn't have put them out, which is also quite V.
Yeah.
There's no filler tracks on this.
Agreed. What do you think, Natasha?
I think that the lead track picks, they're okay and fit in, and like you said, it does seem a bit like, oh, well, there's so many and there's not many songs. But if I was to rearrange it a little bit, I'd put Foros as like a lead track.
Oh, like a pre-release?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I really like that song, so I think that sort of makes sense. But then I think it just sounds like an outro. Yeah, because it's not structured. Like it doesn't have verse, chorus, bridge, chorus like that. So then, and it's a bit short.
I think actually, if you would have put out For Us first with all the behind the scenes clips and little snippets, it would have got a bit mental and been like, oh, what does all of this mean? And then you'd get video after video that connected it together. That might have been a cool approach.
All right, the next question. Is it what we expected compared to his previous solos? I think it feels more like him, but he's had like a certain slow jazzy vibe to a lot of his solo stuff, like Stigma and Singularity are both quite, like they would have maybe gone on this, but yeah, I think like it is probably what I expected based on his solo stuff. Like it wouldn't have been a massive leap to be like, oh, he's going to put out like a slow song jazz album or jazzy R&B style slow song album. It's not a jazz album, but because he's been so open about his love for this jazz, then it's obviously what I expected. So yeah, it's a hard question.
Similar. Like I don't think Stigma's Singularity and Inner Child are particularly jazzy. They're slow and soft, but also a little bit sexier. I'm thinking maybe Singularity in
mainly,
particular.
yeah.
And Inner Child's a bit quite poppy.
Inner Child
slow
is more of a
poppy.
pop ballad, yeah.
So compared to those 3 songs, I
Yeah.
think I would have been surprised if I didn't know who he was, which
Yeah.
obviously I do. And we know that he loves jazz. We know he wanted to do something jazz. So this feels like this is his opportunity for that. So I think it was as I expected. Maybe even a little bit more jazz than I expected, because there's very little K-pop.
But it also isn't, he said that he doesn't think it's jazz. He thinks it's more like jazz-inspired R&B. Because it's not like big trumpets and
no saxophones
yeah.
and piano. Well, there's some piano.
There's piano, but yeah. He talked about how he wanted it to be like a jazz-inspired, but that's more approachable for like a pop audience, which I guess that makes sense in terms of who his fans are and what music he likes.
Natasha, is it as you expected?
Yeah, like you said, he's a jazz boy. From Singularity to these, it's maybe still got like a sexy vibe for like slow dancing. So yeah, it is very expected.
And I think I'm realizing we didn't talk about Winter Bear and Snowflower. Is that the other one? It is, because I don't know them that well. But I think they're mainly just like gentle, like standard SoundCloud, like saddish songs, right? They sort of fit in with the rest of his solo work. Yeah,
he's really moved away from V and Deng in the pursuance of his solo work.
He could have gone straight rap album.
He could have just dropped a rap album, V, Cypher 5, Cypher V, I'm back. But he seems to have let go of some of his need to be a rap boy.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because he heard our review.
Just FYI, you're not very swaggy.
Stay in your lane, you're brilliant in there.
Yeah. All right, next category is standout look. So do you want to go first on that one?
I've got Fluffy B on the bed in Rainy Days.
He
looks all groggy and he's just woken up and the light's all reflective and it's really beautiful.
Well, I was going to choose that, but I know you'd choose it. I said I like the funk Ford jumper, especially after he said that he woke up like that.
Yeah.
So yeah. But then also I do think shout out to the sequin outfits.
Yes.
Love Me Again.
In particular, the gold one, when you see it in For Us. In the daylight and he's iridescent and he's looking down the camera.
He also wore those outfits for some of the music shows. I think it was the red one without the sleeves, and then his arms looked really bad.
So that is nice.
Yeah.
Good day. All of them.
Yeah.
Difficult.
Yeah. Do we have a favorite piece of content?
I do.
Yeah.
It's the day with the army.
Yeah.
Of course it is. It just melted my heart.
Yeah.
It melted my heart the entire way through. I thought she was brilliant. I thought he was brilliant. I thought she said all of the things that I thought, and I just thought he was super charming.
He was,
and it felt really real. It felt really fair. Like I felt like I knew him.
Yeah,
I don't know him. Obviously, a lot of the MVs and the photo shoots and that sort of stuff's wonderful. I felt like that was such a nice thing to do as well. I really want all the other boys to do it, but obviously just with me.
Yeah.
I want to keep winning of these competitions that I've not entered to spend the day with RM. But yeah, I loved it. A present I didn't think I'd get out of the content and the promo. I thought it would be, photo shoots, MVs, music shows.
Yeah.
A couple of interviews.
Yeah.
What about you?
Me, I went with such
obviously.
It's a very emotional day for me.
No surprises there.
Yeah, it's such tough because I'm real emotional today.
Such a time because it's so nice to see Sugar being V.
Yeah. It's nice to see them together. Yeah, they're my 2 boys.
Yeah. Your old bias and your
current forever bias.
Yeah, and then your forever bias.
Yeah.
It is nice. It's a good Shushtar episode.
Yeah, it was. And I've written it's always the best content.
You can't go a single episode without being like best rapper, Minion Geek, best content ever produced.
You brought up the best rapper thing this time.
Any content any of the members produce, best. Yeah.
Well, Tay kept saying like, "Oh, you're really good at this. You even got up to like do the limbo lift with me."
And you were like, "Yeah,
he's my boy." Yeah.
Natasha, favorite content.
I have put the Running Man episode because I liked all the memes that like came out of it. Where being like, this man has trained for 10 years with the rest of the boys on like Run BTS, doing all these little things just to win a rice cooker. Like,
and the betrayal. He learned how to betray when he betrayed Jimin in the classic episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah, so I like that.
I have written subcategory of favorite MV because he's given us quite the plethora of choice. Have you chosen a favorite MV?
I would pick Rainy Days, I think.
Okay.
Just because it's got some of the best looks and it's all soft. And maybe it's where it came in the sequencing as well, in that we'd had Love Me Again, which was, you know, in the cave, very David Bowie-esque, and then we'd obviously seen Yeontan on the album, and I'd been like, hilarious. That was the first time we saw him in the MV. So I think that's my favourite, even though I appreciate that Slow Dancing has more hidden depth, which is why I assume you're going to go with that.
No.
Tell me.
I think actually I agree. It's Rainy Days.
Interesting.
I think it's just as deep as Slow Dancing. I think, well, it's sort of, I've written it's artsy and makes you want to like investigate further. Because, you know, I think especially like, you know, when he's watching the TV and the TV sort of flickers between the like the flower, and the flower flickers between like a real flower and a cartoon flower, and that sort of jumps back and forth. And, oh my God, what does this mean?
I'm like, this is so nice. You're like, this must mean something.
It must mean something, surely. Yeah, exactly. And when he drew himself with the baguette and the alien and stuff, and I was like, I understand where you're going with the alien. It's from Friends when Jimin goes, hello, my alien, and how, he's been seen as a bit spacey and all that sort of stuff. So there were references that I could pick up, and then there were references that I wanted to look into further. So I thought that was the most interesting MV. He also looked really good. He looks effortlessly flawless, I wrote.
I'm going to go with Forest.
Okay.
Oh, nice. Because you're spoiled.
It's the only one you've seen.
No, I like how it's like a bit of mixture of a lot of them.
You're spoiled. You want a bit of everything.
Yeah.
You want a smorgasbord of music videos.
But I also like the editing of it. The editing aspect of the like vintage cameras. It's not just like we're blue, it's all black and white. It's a nice, I like the old camera vibe. I've been shooting a lot of old camera vibes in Korea, so now I want to make a Forest music video.
Oh, cute.
That is
I'll do it over the weekend.
Yeah. Oh, you want to shoot clips around? I'm always on board for you to romanticize our life in film.
Yeah.
I feel like my life is pretty standard, and then you...
Dreary.
Shit. My life is pretty standard and basic, and then you put up these reels of us in Korea, and I'm like, oh wow, we had such a great time.
It's power of social media, guys.
Wow, this looks great.
It's all
sad every day.
My life is still very basic.
It's all
and
highlights.
Shit in Natasha's eyes. All right, gun to your head. What are you doing?
All right, so we've got to skip a song.
Whip out the guns.
Which I thought was difficult.
Really
because there's so few.
Because there's so many to skip.
No. I feel like they're all quite similar. So it's hard to sort of single one out. But I think I find Blue the most repetitive and forgettable. And he said it was a really deep song to him, so that I feel a bit bad saying that. But yeah, it's a little short and it doesn't have the same gripping melody. And yeah, I think that one's mine.
Yep, I'm also going to go with Blue just because after initially listening, trying to think back to the song, I could probably like, with the rest, say the word Slow Dancing and then sing the song. That one, nah, can't remember it.
I think for us as an initial reaction, he didn't do himself any favours by putting out the first 3 tracks in advance. So we've got those quite firm.
Yeah.
So for me, it was similar. It was a toss-up between Blue and For Us.
Okay.
But For Us has got that really beautiful female vocal at the start, which, I thought might have turned you off.
I keep going back and forth on that.
I quite like it, which is why Blue's also my skip.
I like it too, but I'm a bit like, oh, but could it not just have been a normal voice? I don't know why it's so like high pitched and like Mickey Mousey. But then I don't know, something about it bothers me. But
I think the problem is you
Then it
need to
doesn't bother
listen
me.
to the song in a sequence of other songs, or
yeah,
out of sequence, or after dope, or whatever. Whereas for me, I think when that female vocal comes in, I'm like, oh, we're going to go back to the beginning again. Because I've just been listening to it on repeat.
Right.
So I think Blue, like, so it gets lost in the middle.
Yeah.
Sad. So I did write in my notes initially, no skips, I'm not having it. Under no circumstances, I'm skipping the piano version.
right.
I'm going to die on this hill of no skips on Layover.
Yeah.
But then I remembered I did pick a skip in Indigo.
Yeah.
Sorry, Blue.
Yeah, okay, so then we agree Blue is, yeah, like you said, it gets lost a little bit. The favorite song, do you want to go first on that one?
Yeah, dying on this hill. 15 minutes all the way through. No piano version. Played as one track. You know, swirling mountain visuals.
But then
in
how are
the
you
middle.
going to skip Blue?
Well, I haven't. But no, my initial favourite, that I would like that. If I would have died on the hill of not skipping Blue, that's what I wrote in my notes. I wanted a 15-minute version of the album, which is, you know, a legitimate song. Just the whole album's my favourite. But then I'm reminded of Indigo and how much I loved Indigo and how special it is to me. And I have to take my job seriously as a podcast host. So my favourite is probably Rainy Days.
Oh.
That one's on my mind all the time. Maybe it's because it's more autumn.
Yeah, no, I think Rainy Days is good, as in, like, it comes up a lot. And also the melody is quite, like, easy and catchy. I think my favourite track is Love Me Again. Slow Dancing and For Us, I think, also were candidates. I really like For Us.
Rainy Days at 4.
Yeah, I like those better, just for the melody, I think. For Us probably was the strongest candidate, but then that, like, it feels like it's not really a song, like it's more like an outro. It doesn't even have a lot of vocals.
And
Like,
it doesn't have an
some,
MV.
like, oohing and ahhing and, like...
And it does have an MV, but what I meant was it doesn't have a full MV. It's just clips of other MVs.
Like, it's an outro MV as well.
It
Yeah, so I think Love Me Again is my favourite. It's the verses of Love Me Again and the melody for the how he sings the verse that pits it over Slow Dancing, I think. Yeah.
Natasha, is it difficult to pick a favourite?
No. So initially I was gonna say that I like Rainy Days because of literally everyone was using it as a reel. So like every sound that you scrolled on, it was that, just because, you know, they know it'd get views. But then
it is good for reels.
Yeah.
And, like,
and I feel like
it
came
out like
whilst it was raining in Korea.
Yeah, like just at the end of the monsoon season, so everyone was still on the grind of like, it's raining, it is.
But then also, like, now that we're going into fall, it's raining more. We can use it now.
Yeah, get ready.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to change it to... I'm going to get to Slow Dancing because I think it's going to be the song that I will listen to more and potentially add to my playlist.
I potentially heaven knows. Fucking hell, big accolade there. Jack in the Box still not made it in.
No, I've got true.
You thought I was going to say Indigo.
No, I've got two Jack in the Box.
Okay, which ones?
Future and Equal Sign.
Yeah, those are the
Any Indigo ones made it on there?
Yeah, Closer, Change Part 2, and another one.
Good one.
Okay.
Don't get that far.
Not
skip.
memorable.
Just kidding. JK.
I really want to be in love and be in the kitchen cooking dinner and Slow Dancing's playing and then you just start dancing.
That would be
Slow Dancing. That's how I imagine it goes. And until that moment, it can't be my favourite. I'm in my Rainy Days era.
Yeah, fine.
I'm in my sad,
That would be
lonely
romantic.
era. But yeah, that's how I want Slow Dancing to go. Or maybe it'd be really beautiful for a wedding.
Yeah, I would actually. I would for a BTS army wedding.
Yeah,
Let's
Yeah.
be
really
BTS
great.
wedding planners.
Yeah.
New job.
Yeah, we
new
really
job.
should. That should be a thing. You know, we can teach the dance moves to the groomsmen.
Dye the wedding dress purple.
Yeah, provide
Wearing the
the
6
the
foot
cardboard
cutouts.
cutouts. Yeah.
Each table will be a BT21 character.
Come up
like,
with
sorry, you're
the-
saying Koya, not Tata.
Yeah.
Get on the coin table.
Yeah, we could curate the playlist
Mm.
of the dancey BTS songs, like the slow
mhm.
dancing songs, and then the party
And then
songs.
the hype songs, yeah.
Could
Yeah.
do like a quiz and see what type of BTS fan she is. See she's a slow dance type.
Yeah,
or is
we
she like, you
could.
know, see what type of vibe she goes for. Is
We
she
could-
always like,
we
is she
could-
a rap line star?
Yeah.
Or is she vocal line? 'Cause
We
she,
could do like a
that's
quiz
a
to
hard-
discern whether the bride is good enough to get our BTS
Yeah.
remix.
We could even-
like, are you enough of an
if she
army?
pays
Do you
enough,
know?
mm.
Dang.
We could do Dang. Generation BTS performance of Dang. Before we film in Korea in 2025. Like, if you want to pay top dollar, then we'll do it.
I was going to say she could tell us her bias and then we'd work with the groom to make him more like her bias.
Yeah.
Like, not like surgically, like
No,
not crazy,
like,
but
just
like
in
drop the ideas
personality.
in, yeah. Just
Yeah.
give him hints and tips
Oh,
on
when
how
she
to
walks
be more
down-
Jimin.
Walks down aisle, she's thinking, it's like, oh, does anyone object? Want to stand? Everyone gets a little face mask of their bias, and then everyone raises, and then she's like, shit, my
What
man's
do I
still
do?
out there.
Yeah.
And then legs
runs.
it down thing, and we're like, yes, go
Everyone to the
girl.
reception.
What we would play as she's walking down the aisle.
Euphoria.
Yeah. The
Just
piano
on the
version
zip
of
line.
Euphoria. Yeah.
This is actually so good because you can have all standees in corner.
Yeah.
Everyone gets a photo card.
Right,
Yeah,
come on.
New
let's-
business idea, guys. Let's do it.
If you want us
coming
to
to a wedding
organise-
planning venue
yeah,
near you.
If you want us to organise your next BTS wedding, then please do reach out to us on social media. Where can they find us, Natasha?
On Instagram and TikTok and Twitter, we are at GenerationPTS_. On YouTube, just Generation PTS, and you can email at generationpts or the albums at gmail.com.
On to the stars.
Onto the
I'm
stars.
feeling more comfortable about the stars
Okay.
now than when I came in, based on Natasha's input. I was really stressed about how she graded it, but I'm feeling better.
Okay, good. And let's hope you live up to that, Natasha. Okay, who wants to go first? Do you want to go?
Yeah, I'll go. No surprises for me. It's a 7.
What the
Really?
fuck?
Oh
Yeah,
my
it's
god.
a 7, come on!
It's only got 5 songs.
I like it as much
As Indigo.
as I like Indigo.
Okay, great.
No, do you think it should be 6.5?
I don't know. You do. You do.
I just love soft vocals.
I know.
I love these vocals. I like Christmas Tree more than Spring Day.
Yeah, I know.
Did
Yeah.
I give Jack in the Box a 7?
No, 6.5.
6.5. The only reason it would be a 6.5 is because there's no real concept or intellect and he didn't write it. So yeah, I'm lying. It's a 6.5. Fine.
Leanne's a liar.
It's a 7 in my heart. In my head, it's a 6.5 because of the lack of production and writing.
Yeah.
It's still very, very high score. Very good
very
score.
high score,
Very
yeah.
high score. More than Face. I like it more than Face.
Okay, good.
I think it goes Indigo, Layover, Jack in the Box, Face. Or maybe even Face. No, not
I'm
Face above
sorry,
Jack in the
are
Box.
you forgetting?
Oh,
something?
D-Day. D-Day.
Really
It
tough.
goes Indigo, Layover, Jack in the Box, D-Day, Face.
Fine.
I might put D-Day above Jack in the Box, but I just feel like I can. I feel like I stand hard for Jack in the Box.
Yeah, I know.
I do
know you
listen.
did.
I do probably at the minute listen to more D-Day than I do Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
But I just felt like Hobie had done such a good, but still not as. Then there's Face, and then there'll be whatever JK puts out.
Fine. Yeah. All right,
Absolutely.
Natasha, hit us with your.
Hit us with your 2.
What did I give Face?
I think you gave Face 3.
3.5.
Yeah, maybe you gave Face 3.5, and then you gave D-Day 3.
And then Indigo and Jack in the Box 2.5.
Yeah.
So my scoring of this one, on initial listen, I think because it were only 5 songs, I didn't find it as jarring to be like, oh, I've got to listen.
It wasn't as much of a chore.
It wasn't
to have
as
to
it,
listen
like
to.
Indigo was, just having to trawl through that.
Yeah, all
Jack in
these
the Box was also
features.
short.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, but I knew Hobie probably weren't going to be my style.
Fair.
And you knew this wasn't going to be your sound, so that.
But I have coped with it, listened to it a few times. I think I'm going to get it. I'm going to do what Leanne did. My heart says 3. My head says 2.5. Like,
Really
I
tough.
feel like I just can't song wise, can't really like rate it any higher than a 2.5 just because like it's not at the same amount of time. So yeah, I'm gonna get 2.5 in my head, a 3 in my heart, just for the quietness.
I think that's fair based on your previous rankings.
I think it's still an abomination.
I mean, it is, but when we tried to justify D-Day, we learned that there is no reason to this.
There is no reasoning with Natasha.
No.
You've already lured me in.
Yeah.
You've not managed my expectations properly. You've set me up thinking that you're going to score it differently.
Yeah.
And you didn't.
She did that with D-Day too.
Yeah.
Where she was like, I like it. 2.5. 3 for the
three.
tour.
Yeah. 0.5
He did a whole
for
28-day tour and
across the world.
0.5.
Not in England.
Not in England, that's true. That is it.
He's lucky even got 0.5 then, isn't he?
Yeah,
Whereas
really.
V's laid his soul on the line.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I saw you on his last day of his tour.
You did.
Was
Yeah.
V there? No.
No. Didn't even bother to show up. Selfish bastard. What was he doing? Just working on his album?
Oh,
Okay.
it's not even that good. Didn't even write it.
What did he even have to work on? Just sat there, sang some stuff, went to Spain, job done. Yeah, no.
Whatever, Natasha.
Yeah.
We accept you for who you are.
Yeah. Let's
even
hope.
if you've got terrible judgment.
Very, very harsh in your judgment.
Mm.
Let's hope you come to enjoy it more with time.
Yeah, like you did with Indigo and Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
Indigo mainly.
Yes. Mainly Indigo.
Still justice for Jack in the Box in this household.
We've got our cardboard albums now.
Oh
It's
yeah,
good.
the cardboard albums, they're absolute mess.
Yeah,
Tell
like
us, Christine.
cardboard albums, they are a bit of a joke. I'm sorry, but why are your albums cardboard? Are you in bed with the cardboard company?
Except
I don't
for
understand.
Face,
Yeah, except for Face. Face is good.
which you can sit on.
Yes.
You can sit on
I've
Jimin's
made
face.
this rant before, you see, and then we were like, we have to get it on the podcast because Big Hit will listen and then we'll get some real albums out of them. Yeah, why are your albums cardboard boxes? Like D-Day, Indigo, Jack in the Box, and Layover have been these cardboard boxes. And if we got them from Korea and they were in suitcases and got squished. Not Layover so much, but definitely Jack in the Box. We've had the justice of the physical version. We have not had justice in terms of the integrity of the physical version.
They have no integrity.
No, they do not.
Face has integrity.
All the other BTS albums, I'd say, have integrity. You can sit on them just fine. but I accidentally sat on my Indigo album.
And
not fine.
Yeah, it's in tatters.
It is. It's not in tatters. It's just like...
No, the CD snapped in half.
No.
Natasha gave Shay on fire. She's
Yeah.
like 2.5. No, she didn't. You didn't break the album, but you've broken the box. The box now needs sellotaping.
It needs taping, but I don't want to tape it because I'm scared I'll rip off the side of the box. Anyway, it's not the best, and none of these other younger, inferior, let's be real, Hive artists have cardboard box albums. So please do our boys some justice and come up with something better.
The only justification would be for the environment.
Yeah.
But if that's so, then tell us.
If it's for the environment, fine.
And offer me two
try not to
versions.
sit on them.
An environmental version and like a soft copy and a hard copy of a book.
Yeah.
Offer me a hardback album and a soft copy. I'll buy them both.
Yeah.
We have to put these shattered boxes onto our shrine.
Our shrine, yeah.
It just makes us feel bad.
It does, yeah.
So.
It's not nice.
Maybe
So
that's the
please stop
strategy.
that.
They know that you're going to smash it to bits, so
Then
you
you
go
have
out
to
and
buy
buy
a new
another
one,
one.
yeah.
So they're not in bed with the cardboard box companies. They're in bed with money
Themselves. Yeah. Well, no.
Wow, we're on to you.
Yeah. K-pop industry want us to buy multiple albums. What? No.
Never been done before.
Never heard that before. But
Anyway. Should we go to your score of Layover?
yeah, I was trying to think about what I scored Face because I don't think it's better than Face.
That's hard to hear, but maybe you are right. because you didn't.
Alternatively to you.
Yeah. He didn't write it. And it doesn't have any big dance tracks.
No,
Any
but then
big dance numbers.
I sort of think that's okay. But like, I think what's impressive about Face now that we've had offerings from the rest of the vocal line, maybe aside from Jin, I think Jin did have a writing credit on this.
He did.
I think maybe we were a bit harsh on Face because personally I was just disappointed that it was short. But now that we've seen that Tae's album's also short and also like he didn't write it and he didn't do like a whole like self-exploration like he's all about. It's a new side of myself and I'm like, yeah, that's great. Like it's a new musical genre for you.
But
it's not really telling me anything about beyond like this is a genre and the vibe setting that you enjoy. And I think the music videos help sort of give it a bit of the essence of Kim Taehyung. But
it's just
beyond
so beautiful.
the songs, I didn't feel like I can't be like, oh well, this is about that time that he felt sad about BTS because he didn't write them. So I think that's the sort of drawback for me. I think in retrospect, I'm quite impressed by Face now.
I get that. I think we did judge Face really harshly on being short.
Yeah.
But we were sort of under the assumption that everyone would put out 10-track albums that they wrote themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that was a hard line to go in with, and Face sort of suffered the consequence. Whereas we're a bit like, oh, well, you know, it's a nice album. But if we're going to try and score these under a even criteria, then I don't think I can really justify scoring this higher than Face.
Which is why I couldn't score it a 7, even though that's what's in my heart, because I love the sound of it.
Yeah.
We have to take away the points for the...
And I think that means something to us, right? It doesn't necessarily need to mean something to everyone. Some people might be equally happy listening to something the artist hasn't written, like loads of Western and loads of K-pop artists don't write their songs.
But that's one of the things that differentiates BTS, and that's why we started the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
but also like going on to new groups, like you're to branching out. Sorry to break it to one multi-stands.
Yeah.
But like one thing that you would say, if I'm like, oh, I really like this group, you'd be like, do they write their own music? I'm like, oh no, but like the songs are still really good, and you'd be like, well, they've not written it. It's not come from them personal. Like,
yeah, we do pass judgment on bands that don't write their own stuff,
and I think more and more K-pop bands do write their own stuff. But I do frequently scroll down to the song credits part of the Spotify information about the song and like check which members were involved. And
I think it's just hard. And it would have been, he could have written it.
He could have, yeah. So I think based on that, I think I scored Face 5.5. So I think based on that, actually, did I score Face 6? I think I scored Face 6 actually. So I'm gonna score this 5.5. But if I scored Face 5.5, then I'd like to bump up to 6.
But then you're scoring this at the same as Oh Are You Late Too?
Yeah. I think though that trying to compare it with Oh Are You Late Too is hard because one, you have to see it based on where they were at the time. They were much younger. They were still writing their own stuff. And I think the best song on Oh Are You Late Too...
Coffee.
It's not Coffee.
It's not Coffee. I don't remember what I picked as the best song. That was it. Oh, it was in Attack on Bangtan.
Attack on Bangtan, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is an absolute banger.
Attack on Bangtan probably, at least currently. Obviously, I know that song a lot better. At least currently, that has a higher position in my heart than the best songs on this.
Not for me.
I probably would listen to it more often, but that again might just be my music preference. But I think the BTS albums have more like different genres. This album is very monotonous in terms of genre. Monotonous is the wrong word, like homogenous, I mean.
But you like the album more than Coffee?
Yes.
Oh no, Are You Late Too? Not Coffee in general, not drinking it.
Yes, I would say this is more even than Oh Are You Late Too. Obviously, if they had put out Oh Are You Late Too like yesterday as his first solo album, that would have been really weird, and maybe we wouldn't have scored it very high. But
it'd have been strange.
But that's not sort of what we're dealing with. But yeah, I think Oh Are You Late Too maybe for me has higher heights, and maybe that's part of nostalgia and like appreciating how far they've come and all that sort of stuff plays into it. But I think Oh Are You Late Too has lower lows, potentially higher heights, and there's something for everyone, whereas this one, like I said, homogenous, easy listening,
very V. Didn't write it.
He didn't write it, but he also didn't like sell out, quote unquote. Like he didn't pander to anyone. Not throwing any shade. That wasn't the intention. It was just like he did what felt like him. So I think even if he didn't write it, he gets a bit of credit for Intrich himself, if that makes sense. And I think he hasn't specifically said this, but it sounded like from what he said about visualizing the MVs, like he had maybe had a bit of creative control within those.
And he got to do whatever he wanted.
Yeah. So
5.5 yeah, really low.
I think 5.5, but then that's not bad. You know, it's just that I've sort of cornered myself with these really high scores. Maybe if I'd scored Too Cool for School at like 2.5, I could have.
We've got more room.
Yeah, I would have had more room to maneuver, but I didn't. So
Okay,
Maybe
so
when
you
we
can-
rescore.
You can score it 5-5 in your head, but what is it in your heart?
Yeah, so I really struggled with this because I think when I was watching all the content and when he was like, oh, you know, I really hope I really like it. I poured my heart and soul into it. It was so hard to make, like all that sort of stuff. I was like, yeah, great, 7, 6.5.
Easy.
Like, you get all of my praise. My lovely boy, you're
You
so
just-
pretty, you're so cute.
You're just
like,
drawn in by the charm.
perfect specimen. You can do no wrong. I think head score probably 6.5. Heart score 6.5. Head score
5.5.
5.5 because I just think that we should give Jimin his due.
Yeah, we should have integrity in our scoring.
Yeah.
He's the better looking one.
That's not true, but Jimin's still very good looking.
Jimin's very handsome.
Very
not as
handsome.
good looking as me.
No one is.
No
That
one,
is
ever.
an impossible standard to reach. Natasha's shown us a bit of photo card of Jungkook, but he would agree that
V
Tae
is
is
more handsome.
He
yeah.
has said that Tae is
Well,
the
because
most
he's a humble
beautiful
king.
person he's ever seen. He's been named the most handsome man in the world a million times.
It's only a
You're alone in this war.
random YouTube video that says that.
No,
You've
that
lost-
isn't true.
You've lost this war.
This
No,
war is
You've lost
conceded a
this
long
war.
time ago.
You've lost. You could go through the entire multiverse and they would all come back and say that Kim
Jimin is better.
Taehyung is the most handsome man alive.
He is the handsomest.
Anyway,
So-
we've sort of descended into chaos and delirium, so we should maybe wrap up.
We should. Thanks so much
Oh,
for...
tell them Dark and Wild to come in.
Oh, yeah. Yes, anyone who's patiently waited for however many months for Dark and Wild, your wait should be not much longer because it's coming. It's finished, but I haven't edited it yet. So yeah, enjoy this one, and then Dark and Wild will be with you before you know it.
And we've spun the
Please
wheel.
look forward to it.
We're
We
in a
haven't
new
spun the
era.
wheel. We're in a new era. We're okay excited about it.
But yeah, we're lukewarm.
So you'll figure that out soon, what that is. And
Oh, give us 5 stars.
please give us 5 stars. Yeah, you can do it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I believe.
Also, if you're in the UK,
Yeah.
we're going to be hosting a BTS Christmas quiz.
Oh, yeah.
So watch out for that. Find
Stay
us on
tuned for
socials if you want to come.
details. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to be doing that.
Yeah.
True story.
Yeah.
Find us.
That's in the works. And yeah, thanks again for listening. Hope you enjoyed this look back on Layover. Let us know what your head score and your heart score is. Whether you agree with us or Natasha, that you obviously agree with
But
us.
you agree with us.
Yeah.
So.
So-
This is not a rap line, vocal line discussion. This is one person is wrong
Is right,
and the
yeah.
others are right.
Exactly.
No.
That is
for the
about
win.
handsomeness level, not ratings. Let's be clear, because you can be
You can have
not a
your
fan
own
of this
opinions.
album, but you can't think that Jimin is more handsome than Tae.
It's a hard line.
No.
Hard line.
Yeah. All right. I think all that's left to be said is I've been Christine.
I've been Leanne.
I've been Natasha. We have been
Generation BTS.